Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today. I'm going to be showing you how to can your own tomatoes at home the end of the summer. Tomatoes that you get at your farmer's market or from your CSA boxes like we do. And so I'm going to show you a super easy way that you can actually can them and have fresh tomatoes all winter long. And we're going to do it without a pressure cooker. So we're going to go ahead and get started so I can show you how simple and easy it is to can your own tomatoes at home. Okay, first things first is tomatoes. Now I just have a big box from our CSA and I've washed and dried them completely and I've put them back in their box. And it's about 10 pounds of tomatoes. Now you can do any amount that you want. You can do 2 times, 3 times, 5 times as many depending on how big your family is and how much you're wanting to do. It's just my husband and I, but even though it's just the 2 of us, we're gonna go through these tomatoes pretty quickly because I'll use them for a big thing of chili or soup or anything during the winter, so they won't last throughout the whole winter. So if you're wanting to really stock up, then I suggest you triple, quadruple, 5 times this recipe if you want, or you can just do it in multiple batches. So I did a batch last week and then I'm doing another batch this week. So however you want to do it, but just know it just depending on how much you want to make. So from there, so we're going to use tomatoes and then you're going to need salt and then mason jars. I like to use pint mason jars. They're just a little bit easier to store in our pantry back there. You can use quart as well. I'm going to show you the measurements for how to do quart or pint mason jars. They need to be clean with new, fresh, clean, never used lids and seals. And I'm going to show you how to prep those because that's kind of an important part of the step. But first things first, we're going to take the tomatoes and we need to cook them down. All you're going to need to do is just cut the tops off the tomatoes, cut out any bad spots, and then you're going to quarter or half them depending on how big the tomatoes are. You're going to add them to a medium size or large stock pot depending on how many you have. Add the tomatoes straight in there, nothing else, and turn it on medium low. And we're going to cook the tomatoes down for about 3 to 4 hours. Okay, our tomatoes are done, they're sliced, they're on the stove on medium low and they're gonna cook for 3 to 4 hours. As that time goes on, they're gonna simmer and reduce down and get all juicy and nice and everything. But the next step that we need to do when canning tomatoes at home without a pressure cooker is prep our mason jars. So today I'm gonna be using a pint mason jar. You can use a pint or quart depending on what kind you have. You just need to make sure that they're clean and that the lids and seals are fresh and brand new. So to prep these, we need to wash and sanitize. You want to make sure that there's no germs, there's no grease, no dirt, nothing on these. And so we're going to stick these into the dishwasher. We're going to run these on a high temp sanitizing cycle. I'm going to hand wash the lids and the seals in the sink with hot soapy water, put them out on a towel to air dry, and then we'll go from there. You want to time the wash of these to be done around the same time that the tomatoes are because you want the jars to be hot when we're going to fill it up with the tomatoes once they're finished. You want these mason jars to be hot because you're going to be putting a hot liquid into a glass container. If the glass container is cool, you're going to potentially be risking the mason jar to crack and break because you're adding a hot liquid into a cold glass. So you want them hot, you want them clean and sanitized straight out of the dishwasher to putting the tomatoes in it. So I'm gonna go ahead, stick the mason jars into the dishwasher, get this running on a high temp sanitizing cycle. I'm gonna hand wash the seals and the lids, hot soapy water, leave them out to air dry, go work, do a couple things, and then we'll come back in a couple hours once this is all ready to go and ready to be jarred, sealed up, and I'll show you the next process from there. We're back. It's been like probably close to 4, pushing 5 hours now. I just turned the stove off. Our tomatoes are nice and done. They're simmered, they've cooked down, they've burst a little bit. I just like to take a big wooden spoon and kind of give them a little smash just to make them easier to scoop into the mason jars. But they're all cooked, they're all soft. They smell incredible. This house smells so good. There's like a distinct canning tomatoes smell. I don't know, it brings back lots of good memories. And the sanitizing load has finished. It just finished. So we're gonna take our mason jars that are clean, hot, remember they need to be hot, or warm. If yours are already clean and you don't need to run them through another sanitizing load or run them through the dishwasher, you can fill up your sink with super, super hot water and set them down inside right before you begin to fill them up. That way they can get nice and warm and they're not gonna be cold jars. Another tool that's gonna be super helpful for doing this is a wide mouth canning funnel. That's gonna fit right over a wide mouth mason jar. It's just gonna make this a whole lot easier. And we need to keep the rim of the mason jar super clean. So if anything splatters on it, we're gonna have to wipe it off, especially the salt. You're not gonna wanna touch it with the tops of your hands. Anything that touches the lip or the seal of these mason jars are gonna break the seal, which then in turn will make it mold and spoil and bacteria can grow, which is no good. So having a wide mouth funnel like this makes that super, super easy. If you do get something on it, which is, you know, maybe might be inevitable, I usually do, we'll just take some paper towels and run it around the edge and get them nice and clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the mason jars out of the dishwasher, fill these up, see how many pints that we get, and we'll go from there. Once we've filled the mason jars up with tomatoes and they're ready to go, right before closing, we're gonna add a half a teaspoon of salt to each pint of tomatoes, and you'll add 1 teaspoon of salt to each quart of tomatoes. Okay, one final thing that I wanna show you before we store these and finish up is how much to actually fill the mason jar with. You wanna fill right up to below the lip. You want a little bit of room in there, so don't fill it all the way up to the top. Okay, they are done, bottled, salted, closed. Everything is ready to go. We got 8 pints out of those 10 pounds of tomatoes, and I'm excited. So the very last step that you need to do is to flip them over. You're gonna take these beautifully canned, fresh summer ripe tomatoes, and on your kitchen counter, just lay out a couple beach towels or bath towels, whatever you have. Fold it up a couple times so that it's thick on the bottom, and you're gonna flip these upside down and lay them on top of this beach towel. And what this does is, this is the canning or sealing process that we're using instead of using a pressure cooker. So after we flip all of them over, I'm gonna take this other beach towel and drape it across, and they're gonna hang out on the counter for about 24 hours or until they're completely cooled. By wrapping them up in the beach towels, it allows the temperature to come down more slowly. And during that process, these mason jars are actually gonna seal. If you're doing this during the middle of the day, you'll be able to hear a little pop, and that means that the seal is completely sealed and they're done, they're ready to go. So I'm gonna leave these out on the counter overnight, and then they'll be done in the morning when I wake up and ready to write on the tops, store, use, whatever. If you leave your tomatoes out overnight to cool, another way you can check to make sure that they're sealed and completely done is to place your finger on top of the lid, press down, and make sure that there's no give and no pop. So that's it, you are done. You have successfully canned tomatoes without a canner all by yourself. Now you can enjoy delicious summer farm fresh ripe tomatoes all year round. Use them for pastas and soups or anything that you used canned tomatoes for. For the full recipe, step-by-step instructions, pictures, everything that you need to know, head on over to feelingasouthernsoul.com. Everything that you need to know, plus so many other recipes that you can use canned tomatoes in, is there for you. Thank you so much for joining me in my kitchen today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.